Now, we have a lot of things. What do we do to keep the instrument safe? Well, a number of things. There are various warning lights. One, there's an LED here on the nose cone that will be blinking anytime that the X-rays are being emitted. That'll be blinking. In between tests, it will stay on steady, but no X-rays, only when it's blinking, okay? Also, the computer, which I have unplugged right now, I'm bumping it up, that will also be telling you a test is running, and you know X-rays are being emitted. And then we have a rear display, will be showing, it'll be counting seconds, and you'll know then, even if you can't see the first two things, you're holding it like that, you'll hear the screen will be telling you that X-rays are being emitted, okay? And other things are we have a dual-purpose trigger, but it comes to you with a Deadman trigger. Now, a Deadman trigger means you have to squeeze and hold it the whole time. As soon as you let go, the X-rays are cut, okay? Now, that's really an artifact of the old isotope days. Isotope instruments had to have Deadman trigger, okay? They couldn't bypass it. With a tube, we are allowed. So we have a dual-purpose trigger. We can set it up in a Deadman or set it up in a touch-on, touch-off, okay? And it's really, we suggest one or the other depending on what you're doing. If you're shooting metal alloys, typical answers are 5 or 10 seconds at the most. You get your answer very quickly because it's high signal, high density material, you get a lot of signal. So we suggest, hey, the Deadman is fine for that, okay? But you move into the environmental world and you're doing soils, a lot of the tests take 30 seconds, maybe even a minute, sometimes 2 minutes, depending on the element you're looking for and the level you're looking for, okay? So squeezing and holding that trigger for that length of time, unless you're trying to build your forearms up like Popeye, doesn't make a lot of sense. So we have it where you can click on, click off, okay? Now, what do we do to prevent accidents from happening there? Well, that's where you see that software proximity sensor. What that means is our instrument knows what air looks like and it doesn't like it, okay? So if you accidentally pick the instrument up and it's not on a sample, so it's not getting back any X-rays other than air background, it goes, oh, something's wrong, and it cuts off in less than 2 seconds, okay? And you're not going to expose anybody at any distance in 2 seconds to anything harmful. And then we have a trigger lock that if you're setting the instrument down, not going to run some tests for a few seconds or a few minutes or whatever, you can lock the trigger, and then you'll have to actually unlock it to take a test, okay? So this describes a Deadman trigger at nauseum here, more than you ever want to know about a Deadman trigger. Why, page after page of Deadman. These are the things I've already talked about. Oh, the trigger lock. You can lock it manually, but let's say you set the instrument down and you go to get some more samples or whatever you're doing, it will lock itself in 5 minutes, okay? So, and it's just showing you, we'll go through this when we're running the instrument, but it just shows you how to unlock a trigger. And this is describing the proximity sensor, 1 to 2 seconds it cuts out. And then the test stand, I mean, that's, you know, there are no X-rays are escaping at all. So it's great for doing soils and other small particles, or small parts. I've got some customers that, even though they're doing metal, they're manufacturing small parts, you know, little fittings and things like that. They have instruments they never take out of the test stand. It's in there 100% of the time. And this is just a directory that you can get and find out what your own state regulations entail, but we can get you that kind of information as well. But basically the bottom line is common sense. Don't play around with it. Realize that, you know, the radiation is coming out, and pay attention to all the lights.